How's it going, people? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to a video on 10 depreciated luxury diesel cars that you can buy for under £20,000. And the key thing about these is that all of them are newer than 2015, which means that all of them are ULEZ compliant. If you don't know what that means, in the UK we're getting ultra low emission zones in some cities around the country, and in London it's going to be almost the whole city basically by the end of this year. So all of these cars are ULEZ compliant, they all have great fuel economy, and all of them are reasonably quick or luxurious. And they're listed from slowest to fast from 0 to 60 just to reduce bias on my side. Remember, in the UK, so prices in other countries may differ, and remember that whenever you buy any second-hand car, maintenance, repairs, insurance, all that good stuff is important to remember. Before we begin, make sure you hit the like button for the YouTube algorithm, I would really appreciate it. Subscribe as well if you're new, but without further ado, let's get into the video. Let's kick this video off with the Land Rover Discovery Sport, which hosts a 2-litre turbocharged inline-4, putting out 177 brake horsepower and 430 Nm of torque, which takes from 0 to 60 in 8.4 seconds. Despite its size, it's quoted at doing 54 miles per gallon combined, which is pretty sick. These are Land Rover's best-selling model, replacing the Freelander, which was renowned for being unreliable, and giving it an extra 2 seats in the slightly larger variant. The car is hugely capable, which I can attest to, having been given an off-roading demonstration in one, and the interior is simple but very comfortable, and genuinely a nice, spacious place to be with premium material choices. Mechanically, it's well equipped too, with multiple electronic management systems that keep it stable on the majority of surfaces, large brakes that will keep you safe on hefty inclines and declines, and all the other off-roading features you might want, but never use, as you'll only ever drive the car to your local supermarket. You'll find this listed for a minimum of around £13,000, and 20 grand will get you a 2016 model with around 20 to 30,000 miles on the clock. In terms of reliability, they've proven to be relatively strong, and I couldn't find too many common issues, but watch out for oil contamination resulting from an overactive particulate filter, which results in shorter gaps between services. Next up is the Infiniti Q50 with its 2.1 litre turbocharged inline-4, putting out 167 brake horsepower and 400 Nm of torque, which gets from 0 to 60 in 8.2 seconds. It has the third best fuel economy on this list at 62 miles per gallon. It's marketed as a luxury sports saloon, but sits in the compact executive car class, and is actually named the V37 Nissan Skyline in the Japanese domestic market. It comes in multiple trims, which translates into leather use throughout the interior, mixed with some plastic as expected. You get a pretty cool double screen setup on the center console, one of which is a touchscreen, and the whole interior layout just reminds me of a super comfy armchair. On the exterior, it's also surprisingly aggressive looking, particularly on the front end, as its design was influenced by two Infiniti concept cars, the Essence and the Etheria, and you can see some of the similarities. These are listed for around 10 grand at the bottom end, and you'll find plenty with lower miles under £20,000. However, owners have noted a few key issues with the car, particularly with the brakes and the infotainment failing, and early tyre wear. Reviews are also often less than complimentary about the car, so maybe test drive one for a bit if you're interested, to make sure you'd really have it over an equivalent Audi or BMW, for example. Next up, maybe a slightly less luxurious car from this list, but top of the line nonetheless, so hear me out. It's the Skoda Octavia VRS with its 2-litre turbocharged inline-4, putting out 181 brake horsepower and 380 Nm of torque, which takes from 0 to 60 in 7.6 seconds, and to a miles per gallon figure of 60, just behind the Infiniti. This is the 3rd generation Octavia, and in VRS spec it was meant to be the Skoda equivalent to the Golf GTI and GTD, depending on which fuel you fancied. It gained variable ratio steering, a sport chassis, an e-diff lock, and a really weird feature which is supposed to enhance the sound of the car in the cabin by using an electromagnetic pulse directed into the car through the windscreen. It comes as either a saloon or an estate, and is clearly sportier than your average Octavia, with larger grills, alloys, and a more aggressive kit all around, and this sportiness is matched on the interior. The materials are cheaper than the other cars in this list, but from a personal experience it is still very comfortable and definitely makes you feel like you're in a premium space. £9,000 is around the minimum you'll find these listed for, and for 20 grand you'll get one with under 10,000 miles on it. Some owners have had issues with the DSG auto boxes, whilst others have had problems with water pump failure, but in general these have proven to be reasonable on reliability so far, other than a few minor electrical problems. Sharing many components with the VRS is the Mark 7 and 7.5 Golf GTD, with the same 2-litre turbocharged inline-4 with the same specs, but a 0 to 60 time of 7.3 seconds instead. Despite sharing an engine with the Octavia, it's rated to have better fuel economy at 67 miles per gallon, joint top of this list. As with the Octavia, not really a luxury car, more a sporty and premium car for the family, but all in I think it's a super nice offering, both with the understated exterior, noted mostly by the alloys on the Mark 7 and the slightly angrier body kit on the 7.5, and with the interior being very similar to the GTI, just with different colours on the tartan seats, swapping the red for grey. It actually matches the Golf R on torque as well, thanks to that diesel engine, and I mean ultimately it's a Golf, so it benefits from being an easy car to maintain, find parts for and run cheaply. Like the Octavia, £9,000 is around the lowest you'll find these listed for, and for £20,000 you get a 7.5 with around 20,000 miles on the clock. Reliability is very similar to the Octavia for obvious reasons, but owners do note the car can be quite a harsh ride, which led to a loss of suspension noise on early models. DSG services are crucial on these, like the Octavia, so make sure they've been done before you go for an auto. In 6th is the Alfa Romeo Giulia with its 2.2 litre turbocharged inline-4, putting out 177 brake horsepower and 450 Nm of torque, which gets it to 60 in 6.9 seconds. Alongside the Golf, it's the most fuel economical car on this list at 67 miles per gallon. The car was released for the 2016 model year and is Alfa's first saloon since the 159 ended production in 2011. On release it received high praise, winning Motor Trend's Car of the Year in 2018 and coming second in 2017 European Car of the Year. Interestingly, it has 50-50 weight distribution from front to rear thanks to some weight saving across the car, including a carbon fibre drive shaft. There are multiple trims which actually make a hefty difference to the interior, including the size of the infotainment screen. The Sport package will get you a more focused interior with aluminium inserts and a sport steering wheel, while the luxury trim gets you some lovely leather and wood materials throughout. This pretty interior is matched by a very attractive exterior in my opinion, but then I am hugely biased towards Alfas, so you can make up your own mind on that. These are listed for £12,000 at the bottom end, and 20 grand will get you one with around 20,000 miles on it. Owners do note a bunch of build quality issues with these, and if you check forums there are loads of threads on check engine lights, electrical issues, software problems, and some other rogue stuff too. Not what you want to hear, but at least it will look nice on your driveway even when it's broken. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you are, hit the like button, it's the easiest way to help me out. Make sure you subscribe for 2 videos every single week. Follow on Instagram at carswithjb, and go check out my Discord server, which is also linked in the description. On to the top 5 now, and in 5th is the Jaguar XF with its 3 litre twin turbocharged V6 engine, putting out 295 brake horsepower and a massive 700 Nm of torque, which gets from 0 to 60 in 6.2 seconds. All that performance comes with slightly lower fuel economy at 43 miles per gallon, which is still very reasonable. It's another Ian Callum design, hence it does look very pretty, particularly in the V6S trim, thanks to the more angular front bumper and larger grills. It's basically an evolution of the previous generation XF and looks quite similar, but also looks pretty similar to the XJ, as Jaguar wanted all their saloons to have a similar style. S models benefit from additional suspension modes, which you can tune to be more luxury or performance focused, and all XFs have aluminium bodywork to decrease weight. The interior is actually not too dissimilar to the Discovery mentioned previously, obviously coming from the same parent company, and I can confirm firsthand it's both a premium and luxurious place to be. £15,000 is the minimum you'll find these listed for, and for £20,000 you're looking at models with around 30,000 miles on the clock. Reliability has been pretty good so far in this car's life, and though I found a few owners who'd had some savage issues, I wouldn't call any of them common. The key issues I could find were with the sat-nav failing, so do be aware of this. In 4th we have the Maserati Ghibli, specifically with a 3 litre turbocharged V6, putting out 271 brake horsepower and 600 Nm of torque, which gives it a 0 to 60 time of 6.1 seconds and a miles per gallon figure of 47. It's Maserati's first mid-sized luxury car since the bi-turbo ended production in the mid-90s and came to help Maserati grow their annual car production. The car was built alongside the Quattroporte with the same basic platform, though it was a slightly shorter wheelbase and smaller dimensions altogether, and that diesel engine was actually developed by Paolo Martinelli, who is a Ferrari engine specialist, but the engine is also found in the Jeep Grand Cherokee. And that's not the only part that's shared with other FCA cars, as there are other parts of cars like the infotainment from the Dodge Charger. Of all the cars in this list, its interior is among the most luxurious, with multiple specs as Maserati always offer, with many different colour options for the leather. These have absolutely crumbled in value, with £17,000 being the minimum you'll pay to get one, and there are plenty with around 35,000 miles on the clock available for under 20 grand. Owners have had vastly different experiences when it comes to reliability on these, and build quality has been heavily questioned, but the key complaint I've seen is that some basic luxury features that you might expect to see on the car only come as options, like a parking camera for example. Taking 3rd on this list we have the Mercedes-Benz E350 with its 3 litre turbocharged V6, putting out 254 brake horsepower and 620 Nm of torque, which takes from 0 to 60 in 5.7 seconds. All this performance and still a miles per gallon figure of 54, very decent. You can get an E350 in saloon or estate, estate, as well as convertible or coupe models, with some obvious differences in chassis structure for both, as the coupe and convertible are actually derived from the C-Class, replacing the CLK class. If you're going luxury, I'd recommend the saloon or estate, as both are reminiscent of a baby S-Class. With the AMG pack, they look sportier too on the exterior, and the interior is very much like a slightly less luxury version of that in the S-Class, with not only premium materials throughout, but that staple analog clock in the dashboard that seems to be synonymous with luxury. These have fallen to around £13,000 at the bottom end, and £20,000 to get a 2016 example with 30,000 miles on the clock. Electrics are noted as being the main source of problems on these, as though it is generally quite reliable, it's quite complex, so it can cost a bit to fix if electrics do fail. Early diesels had fuel injector problems, but that won't matter as you'll be getting a 2016 example. Just missing out on the top spot, we have the Audi SQ5 with its 3-litre twin-turbocharged V6, putting out 321 brake horsepower and 650 Nm of torque, which gets from 0 to 60 in 4.9 seconds. Not bad for a crossover SUV. Fuel economy is half decent too, at 42 miles per gallon. This is the first Audi S model to come with a diesel engine, which I actually find quite surprising, as Audi have been pretty big advocates of using diesel engines in performance cars when it comes to racing. Of course, it has the Quattro all-wheel drive system, but compared with the standard Q5, it also gains leather and Alcantara sport seats in multiple colour choices, aluminium and carbon options throughout, and additional luxury trims like wood or piano black. The car was meant to rival other performance SUVs like the KNS diesel and the X5 M50D, and beats both of them to 60. These are the most expensive cars on this list, with £19,000 being the minimum you'll spend, and you're looking at around 100,000 miles either way. However, other than a few small classic VW Group issues, owners have been broadly very positive about the reliability on these, so the fact that mileages are high on those within our price range may not be too much of a problem. Taking the top spot is the BMW 435d with its 3-litre twin-turbocharged inline-6, which puts out 308 brake horsepower, 630 Nm of torque, and does 0 to 60 in 4.5 seconds, hence it tops this list. It does, however, have the worst fuel economy on this list, at 40 miles per gallon. Still not bad at all considering that performance. The 4 Series replaced the 3 Series coupe and convertible models, just as the 2 Series did the same for the 1 Series, so this car is the successor to the E92 and E93 BMWs, hence it's denoted as the F32 and F33. It came out looking much boxier than the previous gen, which continued with a facelift in 2017 that gave it slight changes to the bumpers and lights, as well as some interior modifications. The car arrived as BMW started making arguably nicer interiors to keep up with its other German rivals, so it is quite a premium place to be compared to previous models too. In 435d form, it also comes with BMW's all-wheel drive or X-Drive system, helping it to get that rapid 0 to 60 time. These are listed for around £13,000 at the bare minimum, and £20,000 to get you a decent example with 30,000 miles on the clock. There are a few noted weak points on these, mainly the EGR valve and cooler, as well as the steering rack, which can be diagnosed by clunks from the suspension. However, other than those, owners are hugely complimentary about this car. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope that you maybe found 1 or 2 cars in there that you think are interesting to you. Massive thank you to the patrons as always for their support, and to you guys as well for watching. I'll see you in the next one.